So we're going to be talking now about how to grow wheatgrass and indoor greens. Now specifically we're talking about things like sunflower greens, which is grown obviously from sunflower seeds. And here is the wheatgrass in its early stages, which we'll be talking about more in a moment. And then we've got pea greens, which are fairly new to the market, very tasty and fresh. And then here we've got the longer, more fully grown, good to go wheatgrass. Okay, so essentially to get to this stage you have to know how to sprout first. Now we've just demonstrated the sprouting module, but obviously we're going to be using wheat grain to grow wheatgrass. Okay, it doesn't have to be rocket science, but essentially you're going to be going through the normal sprouting process with water and draining and all the rest of it until you get sprouted wheat. Now just to be clear, when you go and purchase wheat grain, it may be referred to as wheat berries, so they are in fact the same thing. But here we have the sprouted wheat, which is very succulent and juicy and actually very nice to eat just on its own. Chewy, sweet, always surprises people just how tasty it is. And that is good to go from an edible perspective, but we're going to be actually taking this one step further and growing wheatgrass. So first of all, what you need is a seedling tray. Now you can have one with holes in, like these, or you can have what looks more like a cat litter tray, nice and deep, but no holes. This is actually my personal preference because I don't like all the muddy bits getting all over the kitchen work surface or the water running everywhere. Okay, and so I'm going to be using this one just to keep things nice and clean. So first step is to take some good quality organic compost, which you can buy in mail order. This one is bought in mail order from Akenbury Sprouts here in the UK. And you need quite a good layer of this because they need to send down the roots, obviously, because it's a plant that's going to be growing here. So just going to be spreading this out nice and thick. You don't have to pat it down really tightly or anything, but it is of course important to have a good quality growing compost or soil because that essentially is what your plant is going to be taking up into its structure. So that's what we have. Okay, and then just get a little bit clean. And then you take your grain, and really it's not about being too precious because nature is very random anyway, and things grow no matter what quite often. So roughly we're looking to get a good spread, not too sparse, not too dense. We're not trying to build a multi-storey building here with them. If they're too thick, then they won't be able to send their roots down. But this is kind of what we're looking for, something where you can't see too much soil remaining. Otherwise you're going to get very sparse growth and it will, you won't get the yield that you really could get, and you want to obviously make it efficient. So there we are, that's pretty much what we're looking for. And then you're just going to give it a little bit of a water because it's going to be going underground now, effectively, not literally, for 3 days. So you're going to give it something to drink while it's underground. Okay, just to give it something to be getting on with. And then you have a choice. Essentially what we're trying to create now is a situation where it's in the dark so that it would send its roots down in order to create a healthy plant and then send its shoots up. So you have a few options here. You can either put it in a dark cupboard, or you can take another tray and put it on the top. You would have to make sure that you cover the holes up, so you would either lay a magazine or a newspaper over the top or something similar, or you could get a black plastic bin liner and wrap the whole thing up. It doesn't matter, as long as it's dark, that's all you need to take care of. After 3 days, take the cover off, and what you will see is tiny shoots, which are going to be looking something like from here to here. If you can see, these first early shoots here are actually kind of white. And the first time The first time I ever grew this and I saw these white shoots coming up, I quite freaked out, to be honest, because I was thinking, well, it's wheatgrass, it's supposed to be green. But what I overlooked was the fact that actually for anything to turn green, it has to come into contact with sunlight. So that's the difference. So this wheatgrass here has been in the sunlight for a few days. It started to grow, but there are some early shoots still there, as you can see, which are white, which haven't changed yet. And then really, once you've got to that stage, you've done most of the work. It's back to that regular watering, which it needs again to keep it growing and strong. So you need to water it once or twice a day, definitely twice a day in the warmer weather. And then you just pop it back in the sunlight, not in direct sunlight, otherwise it will scorch, and just allow it to grow until it reaches this height, which roughly is 6 to 8 inches, and that is good to go. Now you don't eat it, just to be clear, you juice it, and how you juice it is up to you. You can either use a little manual juicer, which would look something like this. This is a very good priced, around £30 manual juicer, which is just handheld, and you feed the wheatgrass in the top, or you can get the more expensive electric models, which are very good, but not necessarily more efficient, but they are electric, so they save a lot of arm work. But either way, growing wheatgrass is definitely a good thing for you to try, even if it's just for experimentation purposes. For my own history, it was wheatgrass juice that I attribute to me reversing my cervical cell abnormalities way back in, oh goodness, 1990s. And it's known as nature's finest medicine. It's used in the best living food centres around the world as a major component of their healing programs. And it's something that everyone needs to know about. So obviously I recommend you read up on it. You try it for yourself. You've seen how easy it is to do. And enjoy.